All right, Tim Pernetti joins us now. Tim, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Mike, I'm good. How are you doing?
All right, Tim, were you surprised to see this tape surface today, or were you expecting it to surface?
No, I was expecting it to happen. From the beginning of this whole thing, my reaction, I know people are having a very emotional, negative reaction to it. That was the same reaction I had when I first saw the tape. But as we went through this thing and I, tried to push forward an objective investigation of the matter and talk to everybody in the program, the reaction people are having now is the reaction I had then. But when we looked at it, every option was on the table. The suspension option, the termination option, we looked at everything.
So you saw, at the time when he was suspended in season, you had seen this video we had seen today, right?
Yeah, this video was put in front of me, Mike, in late November, and I reviewed it that day and then met with the coach that same day, and we hired somebody independent outside the university to commence an investigation of it to look at everything, because obviously that tape, it's the lowlights, and there was some context we wanted to put around it. But yes, I was aware of the tape when I handed down the suspension at the end of December.
Did your president see this tape?
Yes.
Okay, so he was on board with you for not firing him and just giving him the 3-game suspension.
Yeah, our president, in like any university, they are going to rely on certain people in certain positions to make the recommendation and then support that recommendation. But our president and I, from the beginning of this whole thing, were in constant communication and worked our way through it all the way until we handed out the suspension.
All right, before I get back to the tape itself and what's on there, Tim, give me Eric Murdoch's role in this thing. Eric Murdoch's job was exactly what?
Eric was hired by Mike a couple years ago as director of player development.
Right.
So it's not a coaching position, but it's an administrative support position in men's basketball.
Okay. Does he work directly for the coach, or he works for the university?
He works directly for the men's basketball coach as his direct report.
But does he get paid by the school?
Yes.
Okay, so he is a school employee, right?
Yes.
Okay. Was he fired, or was his contract not renewed?
No, he was not fired. And it's funny, I rode in the car back from the interview with the producer from Outside the Lines, and I told her, I said, it's not fact, because the whole deal with Eric was he asked to attend a camp and speak at a camp that was not a Rutgers camp that conflicted with his duties here. Mike asked him not to do that, and he did it anyway. We got into this whole big mess between the two of them trying to work out the issue. I spoke to Eric on the phone and asked him to come in on Monday so we could meet and figure the whole thing out. Eric insisted he was fired, and I reminded him I'm the only one that can fire people here. But Eric did not come in that following Monday. His contract was up at that time, and we chose not to renew the contract, but he was not fired.
Did Eric threaten? Now, he knew of the existence of this tape, right? He knew the tape existed as part of the program.
His attorneys and he produced the tape.
Okay. Now, the tape, there was versions of the tape, though, around beforehand, right? Correct?
Because
you said you saw it. You saw it.
Practice films, correct?
Right. So you had seen this a version of this same tape. He knew the tape existed, correct? Right?
No, I've been to practice, Mike, pretty frequently, and our practices in men's basketball are open to the public, so a lot of people are there. And I definitely saw some things that you see on the tape, Mike punting a basketball into the crowd and other things. There were some words that were said and things that were done that I saw on the tape that I had not seen before. But the minute I was made aware of it, we took immediate action.
Was the gay slur in the tape you saw originally?
It was.
It was, okay.
Yes.
Was the putting his hands on players in the tape originally?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, did Murdoch basically try to shake you guys down and say he was going to give this tape to ESPN if he didn't get a job or didn't get compensated?
If that's a personnel matter, Mike, it's a little dicey for me to share, but what I will tell you is that, Eric made a claim in the Outside the Lines piece today that he shared with the administration the concerns he had. He never came and spoke to me about any concerns, neither did any player. But, beyond that, after his contract was not renewed, it did become a situation where Eric and his camp took a very hard line against the university that he was unlawfully terminated, but like I said, he wasn't terminated. And there were some things that went on between, that point, beginning of the summer, and now that took place. But in the end, we didn't terminate him. We didn't renew his contract, and we fulfilled all our obligations to him at that time.
And we're talking with Tim Pernetti, the Rutgers AD. Is it your position or your understanding, Tim, that Murdoch and his lawyer furnished that tape to ESPN?
Yes, that is my understanding, because the tape ESPN possesses is the exact tape that they provided to me when I was made aware of it in November.
Okay. Now, did Murdoch ever come to you and complain about the head coach?
He never came to me to complain about the head coach.
Did any players come to complain about the head coach?
Players? No players came to talk about the head coach.
Okay, so this was what? So this whole thing, this was the tape the reason for the suspension, or was it just your viewing practice yourself, or was it a culmination of stuff?
It was a culmination of things. In the end, it was when we were first made aware of it. That's when we took action on it. Like anything else, once you have there's allegations and there's fact, and then you have to respond to fact. But it's a variety of issues. I mean, I think the behavior, which is on and off the tape, was unacceptable. I mean, you mentioned the slurs. There's no circumstance where that's unacceptable. I don't believe that any coach should put his hands
Correct.
or her hands on a player. All that behavior was unacceptable. And whether you do it once or 100 times, one time is too many, which is why we took the punitive steps in the suspension and all the elements that went with that to take advantage of it, to re-educate Mike on what the Rutgers standard is.
I think that there's going to be a lot of reaction to this, Tim, and this was my reaction watching the tape. Why didn't you fire him?
Yeah, I think that's the reaction from everybody. And I would tell you this, Mike, that I spent more time with that option of, whether or not we should fire Mike than I did with any other option. At the same time, the results of the investigation and where we ended up, the determination we made was to suspend him. And honestly, my biggest concern as AD is I'm always trying to protect the interest and the reputation of the university. And that's what makes this one so difficult, because there's a lot of hindsight 2020 that will be that there was no other option than to terminate Mike. I made that decision. I'm accountable for it. I have to live with that.